Hey, what's going on, Crosstown leaders? A couple things I wanted to mention to you as we go into this time of prayer and fasting. This coming week, Wednesday through Wednesday, we're going to have a time of prayer and fasting as a church. And during that time, we conclude it with the sacred assembly. That's something that if you don't have ministry responsibilities in the kids ministry, that I would really encourage you to be involved. I know the youth ministry is joining the services, not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. But that is a great conclusion to a fast. So make sure that if you're not tied up doing some kids ministry stuff, that you're able to do that. Let me talk briefly about fasting. We've talked about this a little bit already, and we talked about some of the things that you can fast and some of the alternatives, especially if you're on the younger side. I don't want you to give up food entirely. But let me kind of shift the focus. We've talked a lot about what you're not going to do, what you're not going to eat, what you're not going to watch, what you're not going to spend time doing. The more important thing about fasting is what you are going to do. Now, the combination of giving something up and replacing it with something else is powerful. But sometimes we can spend so much time thinking about what we're not going to do, and we don't plan enough about what we are going to do. The priority needs to be spending extra time with God. If you don't spend extra time with God, you're really just taking something away from yourself. The goal with taking something away is to quiet your life a little bit, to slow things down, to be able to hear from God, to be able to hear the voice of God. And when you remove all the noise in your life with TV and with media, with video games, with whatever it is, what happens is you quiet your life enough so that you can hear from God. You can take those things out and just replace them with something else, and your life doesn't get quiet. The goal should be take something out so that you can spend more time with God. That's where the power comes, where you remove something that can be a distraction in your life. Maybe not even a bad thing, but it takes your attention away from God, and you replace it with prayer, time in the Word, time worshiping God. That's where the power really comes, and that's where you can hear the voice of God. So I want to challenge you guys not just to give something up, but make sure you're replacing something. Replacing that with more time with God, and that's really where the most power comes in the fasting process. So keep that in mind. Couple of practical updates for you. As you many of you probably saw this past weekend, at about 5 in the morning on Sunday, the construction crew finished everything that they were doing. So everything is built. We are going to have a big launch party, Kids Zone launch party on February 4th and 5th. Some practical things you want to be aware of is we will get you your t-shirts sometime before that, and we will no longer be wearing the Crosstown shirts. We're going to get everything with the Crosstown logo off the screen, and we're not going to use anything with that logo and fully shift to Kids Zone. I think it's going to be a really fun day. The reason we're waiting is because I want to start everything with 100% completion. There's still a couple things that we need to do. We're going to replace our projector. We're going to get new microphones. We're going to change some of the videos and things like that. But I want to have that launch party be a time that is really energized and exciting. So that's going to happen on February 4th and 5th. Just be aware of that. At that point, we'll actually unfold the stage completely so that it'll be fully functional. We'll be able to use the balcony and all that. Up until that point, the stage is not designed to be able to go on the balcony until everything is opened up. So just make sure that nobody's going out there and things like that. A couple of practical things also, just as far as engaging with kids. There's really three things that I want to make sure that we have as a priority as we're interacting with kids. We need the entire team of people to really be focused and show up every week, thinking about the kids, investing in the kids, focusing on the kids. And I know sometimes we can let our guard down and we can goof off together and have fun and be in side conversations with other leaders. But I want to bring us back to focusing entirely on the kids. Here's a couple of things that I want to see everybody do. During free time, kids are running around and having a lot of fun. Make sure that you're engaging with the kids during that time. I know sometimes we can get caught up on practicing worship motions or running through the lines of our skits and things like that. And to be honest, sometimes that becomes a distraction to what we're really there to do. We want to have a good stage production. We want everything to look good on stage. but it can't take away from our time with the kids. So make sure you're engaging with the kids, and during that free time specifically, build relationships with kids. Have fun with them, play games with them, play knockout with them, play video games with them, foosball, Connect Four, whatever. But make sure you're engaging with the kids. That's such a high priority. During that free time also, and really any point in the service is just something to be aware of. We never want to allow kids to be on the stage unless we invite them up there for part of the stage production. I want to make sure that the stage area is off limits to them. There's the ladder there. There's some stairs that they could go up. Kids should not be on the stage. That should be like a sacred ground. So keep that in mind. Another thing that I've noticed that we've really gotten away from during the service, it's really important that we're sitting with kids and we're spread out. So this past weekend, there were several times that kids raised their hands and had questions or whatever. When we have a bunch of leaders spread out, as soon as a hand goes up, one of those leaders should figure out what's going on. The reality is the kids want to get the attention of the speaker who's on stage talking with their question, but I never want to address an individual question from the stage because a lot of times it doesn't bring everybody focused on what we want to talk about. So when kids raise their hand, they say they have a birthday, one of you leaders should be checking in with them, figuring out what's going on. When a kid has a question during the story, one of you leaders should engage with that kid. You should be the eyes and ears and the energy in the crowd. You should always see what's going on and address it before the person on stage has to see it. We've gotten away from that in a lot of ways, but I want to get back to that. That's an easy thing to kind of get distracted with, or to hang out in the back, or in 10 minutes I'm supposed to go on stage, so I'm just hanging out back here. Sit with the kids until the last moment, and then if you have to go on stage, you go from there to get up on stage. But we really need that interaction. It creates a better experience, and really you can kind of infuse the crowd with energy if you're there and you're excited about things. So let's all make that shift and make sure that that's a priority. The other thing that I really want to make sure we're doing as we kind of launch into Kid Zone is I never want a kid to be alone in the gym. If there's a kid sitting alone, I want to have a leader sitting with them to figure out what's going on, to hang out with them. So here's kind of a fun story. There was a little boy that was just standing in the corner by the electrical panel. He was just standing there because he was tired. He was perfectly content. It looked like he was in timeout or something, but he was just standing there because he didn't want to engage with anything. So I went up and I said, "Hey, bud, do you want to sit in a chair since you're so tired?" I gave him a chair and he sat down. And very quickly after that, Andrew, he went and he just started goofing off with them and having fun. So this kid was obviously tired. He wasn't fully comfortable in the room, but he got that one-on-one attention from Andrew, and that really is what makes the difference in the experience for a child. If they're isolated, if they're separated from everybody else, there's usually a reason. So let's just connect with that child and help them to engage in what's going on. So those are just a couple of practical things. No kids on the stage. Let's engage with kids as much as possible before service. Sit with the kids, spread out, and make sure no kid's ever alone. Those are some things that I want to make sure that we're all doing. And again, as we go into this week of prayer and fasting, make sure you're focusing on spending extra time with God, taking something out of your life that creates noise and replacing it with time with God. And I believe that this week will be very powerful for you. I'm excited about this week. It's going to be a great time of just seeking after God and hearing from Him. So looking forward to seeing you guys all this weekend. See you later.